Hey, let's go. Y'all the boys know what time it is, y'all boys. It's going to be our season today. Somebody's season going to end tonight. But we work too hard for it to be ours. The boys came to the roll house thinking they going to beat us. Y'all boys ready? Go, man, go, man.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Baker's High School Huddle, brought to you by Baker's Sporting Goods, your team sports superstore. Frank Frangie along with Justin Barney from the Florida Times-Union as we're working our way through this high school football season. Huge season so far, and you know what? There's some fun games that are both rivalry games and district games, and we've got one to talk about today.
Yeah, these county matchups between, Fleming Islands and, the Middleburgs and Ridgeviews. Clay County football is a very good, fertile county for football.
Yeah, so we have a lot of fun games to talk about. We talk about them each week. We talk about a Gateway Conference game of the week. That comes up later on in the program. We'll talk about our recruiting spotlight, and we'll look back at an alumni player, a player that used to be here. That's our alumni corner, all coming up later on in the program. But let's kick it off with a cool game down in Clay County on Friday night. It was a district game, District 3 7A, and also a cool matchup between Clay County rivals Fleming Island and Oakleaf. It is our game of the week here on the Huddle. They were ready to play. There's Coach Derek Cipoletti from the Oakleaf team. Fleming Island on the road, ready to play as well. And we got going very early on, and in the early going, it was Fleming Island playing very well. Big run by Trey Sneed right here.
Yeah, Trey Sneed's a big back, 5'11", 200 pounds, very good size physique for running between those tackles. But he can get outside and swing around the end from time to time, too.
They've also gotten good quarterback play from Spencer Malnow, no question about it. Rolls out here and throws this pass to Jerone Goodman. What a terrific catch and run that is, all the way down to the 1 yard line. That set up Goodman's 1 yard touchdown run, and Fleming Island had a quick lead here.
Yeah, Fleming Island jumps on him early, and Spencer Malnow, a guy that Coach Frank Hall likens to a Michael Skarnecki, a former Fleming quarterback now at South Carolina.
Yeah, and he looks like he's a college player as well. They got the ball back, Malnow did. This time not as good. Steps up in the pocket, throws it deep, a little bit of a wobbler, and picked off by Terrell Brown for Oakleaf. That kind of got the Knights going a little bit. They had struggled until then, but a terrific pickoff by Oakleaf right there.
Tyrell, that's his second pick of the year and a very, very good Oakleaf secondary.
7-0 after one quarter. Let's move to the second quarter. Jerome Johnson, look at this play. 98 yards on the touchdown pass, and just like that, Rashawn Swain has Oakleaf back even. It is 7-7.
Now, how many times you see a quarterback throw out of the end zone, you expect to get a little bit of running room there, not to happen.
This isn't a good moment for Oakleaf here. They muffed this a little bit. What a mistake that was, and it winds up being recovered by Fleming Island. Whetstone recovers that. That's a big moment, and that sets up a 39-yard field goal moments later from Hakeem Reid, and Fleming Island hanging tough now. They lead Oakleaf on the road here 10-7.
Yeah, field goals this year have been hard to come by from all the weather we've seen, but nonetheless, some good kickers around the area.
Now here comes Oakleaf. Jerome Johnson to Jonathan Bryant right there. More Jerome Johnson. Boy, he throws a good ball, doesn't he? This is to Kerry Coleman, and that sets up a touchdown run. Moments later for Oakleaf, Keelan Johnson from 4 yards away for the Knights, and they take the lead here 15-10. Went for two, got it, so they lead 15-10, and that was the score at the half. We get to third quarter action now. Look at this pass. Ball out to Isaiah Walker deep into Oakleaf territory.
Yeah, not a lot of teams have success throwing on Oakleaf, and Fleming did have that for about 2.5 quarters on Friday night.
Malnow again steps up. Boy, he does a good job stepping up into the pocket, doesn't he? Walker again, another big gain here for Fleming Island, and that led to a Trey Sneed 9-yard touchdown run, and Fleming has taken the lead. They went for two, didn't get it, but they're up 16-15 here in sort of a back and forth game. But watch this play. Keelan Brown, good cut right there. He is gone. 80-yard touchdown run, and Oakleaf takes the lead for good. They go up 22-16.
Keelan, one of the best backs in the area, probably a little bit underrated because of his size, 5'8", 185, but he has really carried the Oakleaf team's ground game for as long as he's been there.
You want more Keelan Brown? We'll give you more Keelan Brown. This is a flare pass from Jerome Johnson, and Keelan up the right sideline. How about that? That gets it all the way down to the 12-yard line. We're not done with Keelan Brown highlights, though. From the 12-yard line, here's Keelan, handoff, burst into the end zone, touchdown Oakleaf, and they go on to win it. That 32-16 score right there. They win the game 30-16. Oakleaf now gets to 5-1, 1-1 in the district. Fleming lost for the second time. There you see the numbers. Lionell, 143 passing yards in a losing effort. Sneed, over 100 yards for Fleming Island as well, but too much Oakleaf. Look at those numbers for Keelan Brown. 223 yards rushing. Johnson over the 200 mark passing as well. Oakleaf wins again. They move along. Where does that district rank for you in terms of the great district? I mean, that's a good district now. Bartram Trail is an awfully good team. But yet Buchholz has already beaten this Oakleaf team, even without Atlantic Coast playing against those guys as he did last year. That's a nice district, right?
Very good district. Buchholz much improved this year. Very good quarterback play. Bartram Trail perennially good. Creekside can play spoiler as it did last year. Made the playoffs at a 3-7 record. In Oakleaf, obviously, we know what they did last year. 10-0, ran the board in the regular season. So you don't want to lose too many games. I mean, one loss is probably all you can afford there. Oakleaf had its loss to Buchholz. Buchholz undefeated, Bartram undefeated in district play. So I think we're going to see some good games in 3-7A down the stretch.
All right, let's stay in 3-7A for a moment. A story that broke really on Friday. Really a big story around here if you follow high school football, particularly if you follow recruiting. Joey Gatewood, only a sophomore, but one of the most talked about recruits we've had around here in a long time, a 6'4", 220-plus pound quarterback, suspended for the game, for the Bartram Trail Creekside game, big rivalry game, and he wasn't able to play in that game. Any word on what happened there? Darryl Sutherland made the choice to suspend his young quarterback. Now, again, they play two quarterbacks. Jordan Smith plays as well. What's the story?
You know, it just broke late Friday, obviously, as we saw. No specifics on why. You know, maybe it was something from the St. Augustine game the week before. That was a high-intensity game, maybe something during practice. Who knows? Nothing has come out significant about that. But Jordan Smith, obviously, he's a guy who splits time with Joey Gatewood. Joey Gatewood's a sophomore, Jordan a junior, and Jordan filled in very well in that handling that starting role the whole time in that game.
Yeah, they certainly played two guys. Let's talk a little bit about that specific game. Bartram played Creekside on Friday night. No score through half of that game. We had to get to the third quarter before there was any action. Interesting matchup. We'll talk about the history of that matchup a little bit. But Jordan Smith did get him going with a 45-yard touchdown pass to A.J. Bolden. It took a while, but they got going. Yeah,
you look for the half. I mean, you're looking on that game. It's 0-0 halftime. You're thinking, oh, no, not a repeat of 2014. That's when Creekside, with 3 wins, knocked off Bartram Trail, who finished 7-3 in the regular season and made the playoffs. So really, this was for a playoff spot in the eyes of those county rivals. And Bartram, slow to get it going, but got it going in that second half, and that carried them.
Yeah, special teams took over in that game. A 77-yard punt return by Isaiah Bolden. Later, Trevor Hagerman, an 80-yard return of a missed field goal. That certainly kind of got Bartram Trail going in that game, and they were able to pull away from Creekside, got a field goal from Galbraith a little bit later on in the game. And then Tyler Miles finished off the scoring on a touchdown catch from Jordan Smith. So they went on to win 31-0. But it's interesting. Last year, Creekside last year didn't have a great team, but got into the playoffs because of that win over Bartram Trail.
Yeah, that's the first time in program history that they beat Bartram at just a neighborhood school right down the road. When Creekside opened, it took Bartram's student population to alleviate the overcrowding there. And Creekside, for the first time last year, knocked off its big rival school, went to the playoffs. You know, it's not always the best team that makes the playoff. It's the district games you win, and that's what the coaches preach to their players. Whatever you've done in the early portion of the season does not matter. It's what you do in these crunch time weeks. Creekside got it done last year against Bartram. Did not get off to that same start this year, but nonetheless, still a chance to do something in district play.
Okay, big rivalry in Clay County we talked about. That was our game of the week. Big rivalry in St. Johns County. We talked about the Bartram Creekside game just there. Before we get to Duval County in our Gateway Conference game of the week, one other note from Clay County. What a rushing performance by Bilal Ali from Clay. What an amazing game this young running back had in their game.
Yeah, and they really needed him to have that. Colin Wilson, his backfield mate, lost to a concussion early in that game. Colin's one of the most highly recruited players, highly recruited juniors in the country. Lost to a concussion. They needed Bilal to do that, to that type of game. They jumped out 26-0, and before you know it, it's a shootout with Menendez. They ultimately win this game 53-35. Bilal Ali, they needed every single yard of his, every single touchdown of his. 7 touchdowns, and those 7 touchdown games do not happen too often. 396 rushing yards, 7 touchdowns. Bilal Ali's got to be a player of the week.
Say that number again in case you missed it. 32 carries, 396, folks, 7 touchdowns. Now, we've seen Jamari Wakefield went over 400 yards. It's amazing, by the way, and I'll say this, and I like that. In an era in high school football, Justin, where everyone's throwing the ball and everyone's spreading the field and 7-on-7 camps are kind of dictating how we're playing in the fall, they're not afraid to give the ball to Wakefield and Ali time after time after time. It's kind of fun to watch, isn't it?
You know, it's old school football. You know, years and years ago, I remember talking to St. Augustine coach Joey Wiles. it took for them from the beginning of the season to the 6th game of the season to have 10 passing yards to show you how much the game has evolved. You know, these quarterbacks are throwing for, 2,000-3,000 yards a season now, so it's good to see a throwback to these old style running backs. You know, the 350, 396, 400-yard games, still a rarity in today's age, but it's good to see them. A little testament to old school football.
Yeah, and I love it as well. All right, we'll take a break. But when we come back, we're going to get it to Duval County football. You know, every week we give you a Gateway Conference game of the week. And what we're trying to do is show you all the teams from the Gateway Conference as best we can throughout the course of this season. It may not be teams that necessarily are going to win their district, but it's teams we want to show you anyway. So Parker and Wolfson, when they've been playing a long time, I can promise you that. One on Arlington, one on the south side. They got together. That is our Gateway Conference game of the week. It's next when the Huddle continues right after this.
Now this is a huge county rival for you guys and a big district win. How does it feel?
Feels great, but really we're to the point where we're expecting these things. It was, it's a disappointment because right now it's whenever we have failure, it's on our part. It's things that we're doing wrong. When we're executing and minimizing penalties and all those type of things, we're going to be a hard team to beat.
It feels like everything, just being my senior year. It feels good to go out with the win over Fleming. That's a great group of guys over there too, but I'm going to be one up.
Great part to get to take to the U, right?
Oh yeah, it's all about the U.
Welcome back to the Huddle, everybody. Frank Frangie along with Justin Barney from the Florida Times Union. It's Baker's High School Huddle, where we talk high school football with you. We love to give you a Gateway Conference game of the week each week. Parker and Wolfson are. You're an old Parker guy, right?
Old Parker guy, yeah.
Okay.
Old Gateway Conference guy.
I'm an Inglewood guy. You're a Parker guy. So the Gateway Conference means a lot to us. But we do want to talk about a Gateway Conference game of the week each week. Wolfson, certainly a struggling program, a program with proud roots, and hopefully can get back to that. Terry Parker, a program that is getting better, certainly in the Arlington part of town. And you know what? It's an old school Gateway Conference matchup, man. When Parker and Wolfson get together, they've been doing it for a long, long time. Let's take you to the tape. It is Parker and Wolfson, our game of the week. Started well for Wolfson. How about this? Reid scores from 2 yards away, and on the road, the Wolfpack start well.
Yeah, that's what you need if you're Wolfson. Have not had a lot of those bright spots in this year or previous seasons, so nice to see Wolfson get off on the board on the right foot.
After that, it is Terry Parker, Aquana McCaleb. That is a 2-yard touchdown run. It looked like it was going to be all Parker after this. Eric Hill, pretty good quarterback here, but look at this play. Marlon Clarkson breaks free. He is gone. Long 87-yard touchdown there, and that made it 13-6 Parker. They did not get the extra point, but Eric Hill, 87 yards there to Marlon Clarkson. He wasn't done, though. Hill's pretty good quarterback. 20-yard touchdown pass here to Derrian Hall. He's a pretty good-looking player.
Yeah, Derrian's a good player, and Eric Hill's got a lot of weapons to choose from. He's 4th in the area in terms of passing yards, and he's certainly big on the big plays.
Look at this catch by Lionell Bost from Tyrese Denglade. Bost is a nice player. I know Wolfson struggled, but this is an 87-yard touchdown. He's a good-looking player, isn't he?
Yeah, Bost is one of their best players, and he's done it for a couple seasons in a row now, Wolfson. One of the lone bright spots for the Wolfpack.
All right, and then Isaiah Ricks, though, kind of helps finish things off for Parker. It's a pretty good little Parker team here. He finishes it off. Parker goes on to win the game. They actually got a touchdown after that, a defensive score, so they go on to win the game 34-12, so a terrific win for Parker as they continue to build their program. Tommy Balaam's done a nice job with that Parker program, trying to build it back to what it was back in the day. We're going to talk to Tommy Balaam. Mackenzie Thurko with this close-up.
Thanks, Frank. I'm here with Terry Parker head coach Tommy Balaam. Now, you won your first district game in the Tommy Balaam era. Tell me a little bit about it and how excited were you?
We were really excited because actually it was the first district win since 2012. So it's kind of accomplished some of the things that we set out to do when we took over the program, and it puts us in position to do the playoff run like we were expecting to do. And we're just excited that we're heading in the right direction. The kids are buying in, the fans are buying in, and we're just excited to bring Terry Parker football back.
Now, speaking of the players buying in, what has been kind of the culture of this team, and how have you been able to get the players to buy into the program?
By surrounding ourselves with other good coaches besides myself and showing the kids that we care, showing them that we love them and we're willing to go the extra mile. And they see that, and they've been able to see the victories and see the outcomes for other games since we took over. So it gives them even more reason to want to buy in because they see the change that's coming about.
Now, there's plenty of talent in the Jacksonville area. How do you get the players to want to come to Terry Parker to play for you?
love them like nobody else loves them, and win. I was just up at Savannah State this week, and one of my mentors, that's what he told me. He says, there's a lot of good buzz going around Jacksonville talking about what you're doing with the program, and that's going to draw a lot of kids to your program. And we just want to let parents and students and family members and kids know that there's nothing different about us, but we're going to love you and treat you like no one else does. And so that's what we're doing out here, and that keeps the kids excited, and the parents are happy to see that with everything going on in Jacksonville right now. Someone who's doing something else besides football, outside of football, and that's what we bring to the table.
All right, thank you so much, Coach, and I wish you all the best of luck the rest of the season.
Thank you, guys, and thanks for always supporting Terry Parker.
All right, Mackenzie, thank you very much. Tommy Balaam, can you get it built over there at Parker? Can Parker compete with the Sandalwoods and the Mandarins and the Gateway schools that seem to have it going?
You know, we saw them play Sandalwood already. I don't think they're at that level yet, but they're at the level they need to be at to compete in that district. And I think, you know, with that district win over Wolfson, they're 1-0 in the district. So, you know, can they contend with the Bishop Kenneys and the Pontevedras? That's what you got to ask yourself if they can compete with those teams. I think they're probably ways away from compete with the Mandarins and Sandalwoods, but Tommy's got them on the right track.
All right, we will take a break. When we come back, we've still got a lot to talk about. What about our alumni corner and a recruit spotlight? All that coming up. Which recruits are playing well and where are they going? And what about players who used to play here? How are they doing in college? All that coming up when the Huddle continues right after this.
Do you want your team to be the best-looking team in town with the absolute best gear? Then you want Baker Sports. Since 1997, Baker Sports has been the stop for sporting goods, equipment, and gear, and has long been preferred by more college and high school teams in Northeast Florida than any other company. Middle school, youth, and Pop Warner, they all use Baker Sports. Baker Sports has the best design specialist, embroidery professionals, and silkscreen artists in town. For the best in sporting goods, it's Baker Sports.
Welcome back to the Huddle, everybody. Time now for our recruiting spotlight in the alumni corner coming up in just a moment. But let's start with recruits and terrific players. Justin and I brag all the time about how many players our area sends to college football. A lot of Gators, a lot of Seminoles, a lot of people going out of the area. And a fair share of Miami Hurricanes, too. Shaq Quarterman, the latest, a terrific middle linebacker, inside linebacker from Oakleaf, a team we saw earlier in the program, on his way to play for the Canes. He's a terrific player, isn't he? I
mean, he's a guy who came in when the tradition at Oakleaf was not that strong. He stayed true to his word, went to Oakleaf with a lot of his friends, and he has produced 6'2", 230-pound linebacker. He's built like a fullback. He gets to the ball. He's a very, very physical player, very strong athlete. He's violent when he hits. And I think, you know, going down to Miami, that program fits him well. He's also going down there with another linebacker from the area, Michael Pinckney from Reid. So a lot of Duval County guys making their way down to Coral Gables.
Shaq's kind of a Derek Chipolati kind of guy, too, and he's a tough guy. He really is. So certainly our recruiting spotlight, Shaq Quarterman from Oakleaf. Now let's turn our attention to our alumni corner. We have so many players who have gone on to play very, very well in college. How about one guy who just went on? A year ago, we were talking about where is Baker County's C.C. Jefferson going to wind up? He was considering Auburn. He was considering Ole Miss. He was considering a number of schools. But he landed near home with the Florida Gators, where he always kind of wanted to play. Well, guess what? Justin, he's already starting for the Gators at defensive end and made a huge play the other night. We're telling him, CC, lunge. He's got the ball. You remember the game, the defensive play. Get into the end zone. Stick the ball out. You don't get to score very much in the SEC. As you see, he came up just a yard short. Florida scored on the next play. But he's a terrific player and really helping a surprisingly good Gator team.
Yeah, he's been an impact player at Baker County from his freshman season onward. First team All First Coast, All State selection, 3 of his seasons. Did not really play much his senior year, had a shoulder injury, had shoulder surgery, but that has not set him back at all. He has been fantastic for the Gators, and he's just a good player. You saw him leap. He's got athleticism. He had to have that chasing John Wolford around a Bishop Kenny for a few years in district play. So CC getting it done. Transition has been very easy from high school to college for him.
CC is the star in our alumni corner, but one other guy we want to mention quickly because he's already in the NFL, but Cairo Santos, the former St. Augustine player, went to Tulane, best kicker in the country as a collegian. What did he just do?
Fantastic. You know, when you're talking about kickers, Cairo Santos played at St. Augustine, St. Joseph, small private school. He was in there at the same time Caleb Sturgis was at St. Augustine. So you have Caleb Sturgis, NFL player, legend with the Florida Gators as a kicker, and then Cairo Santos at St. Joe. 7 field goals for the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday. 7 field goals in a game is pretty fantastic. And a season is good, but Cairo's getting it done 7 in one game. for the Chiefs.
In a time when nobody's making field goals in the NFL. That's the thing. They're missing a lot of field goals. Cairo Santos is not. All right, almost out of time. We'll take a break. What's ahead next week? What's our game of the week? What's the Gateway Conference game of the week? What are the games to watch? That's coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Huddle. Almost out of time, but let's look ahead to next week. It's not a big week for district games, but it is a good week for really cool games, isn't it? Our game of the week will be Columbia, great program from many years gone by, versus Bowles, great program from many years gone by and still is. I mean, Columbia and Bowles, what a terrific matchup that is.
Yeah, it's really an unexpected matchup. These teams, you just don't see them on the regular season schedule often at all, but Bowles has played a fantastic schedule this year, and Columbia, a 7A team, is just one more of those for Bowles this season. They played at Deerfield Beach. They played some 8A teams, 6A teams. Columbia coming off a loss 2 weeks ago to Pensacola Escambia, but still 4-1, state ranked, and going to be a big challenge for Coach Corky Rogers and his team.
Yeah, that'll be a nice win. That'll be a nice matchup. I'm looking forward to that one. Columbia at Bowles, and that will be our game of the week. Our Gateway Conference game of the week, how about this matchup? First Coast at Rains. There's two teams that are close together. A lot of those kids played Pop Warner against each other now, or with each other. Now they're playing against each other. What a neat game that is, First Coast and Rains getting together on the north side.
Yeah, you look at First Coast over the last 5 years before we're talking about this season. They're 48-1 in the regular season over that span, and that lone loss was to Rains in overtime. And, last year, if you remember back, First Coast dropped more than 60 points on Rains last year, whooped them pretty handily. So I think Rains, a lot of those players back on this year's Vikings team, they remember that beating and really look to put one on First Coast. First Coast 1-4, a little bit struggling for the Buccaneers this season.
Bartram Trail plays Ponte Vedra next week. Lee plays Sandalwood. There's some certainly area games and city games. Trinity goes on the road to play Godby. Can this team test Trinity? Nobody seems to be able to test Trinity. They win big against Providence Friday. Can Godby be a test?
Godby in the past has been a test for Trinity Christian, but I think Trinity is playing on another level. I mean, they beat a team a few weeks ago, West Orange, which turned around and beat the #1 team in 8A, Apopka, last week. So Trinity beat West Orange savagely. So I just don't think a team, regardless of class, unless you're talking St. Thomas Aquinas or something, can really challenge Trinity. I don't think Godby can do that this week.
We're out of here. Next week, some huge games. We'll see you next week on Baker's High School Huddle.